Okay, it's recording now. So starting now, I'll be able to share this with you after. Thank you for reminding me, Danny. Appreciate it.
Great. Thank you, Matt.
All right. So any other questions on any of this before we jump in to watching clips on this topic specifically? Okay, great. Then the first is just an example of some of the things we want to try to get away from. You'll see here play moving into that middle zone that we talked about, and obviously with these clips, we're going to be watching the referees as much as possible, so keep your eyes on the referees.
The season, that's for sure. That ballooned over Legwood's head.
Fave.
So that right there is the one thing that we need to start to get away from. The referee, when play is building here in clear possession, is walking through this zone. The challenge that we have to that is that once play stops here, the referee's in an area that we don't really need him to be, primarily because this player really only has two options. They're either going to play into this space here, or they're going to send a long ball as we saw here. And either way, the referee is in dead space. And so what we want to see referees doing now is moving into this space more quickly. So if we can backtrack, as soon as the balls come in this direction, we want to see referees moving with a fair amount of pace ahead of here. Obviously, this is moving a little bit slowly, so a slower jog would be all right, but we definitely want to see pace moving into this space here, so that once this player gets the ball, you're looking at either this space, your back is to the goal on our right, you're looking into this space, and you're prepped if the ball goes long, you've covered an extra 15 yards or so towards that play. So if that referee were to move into this space, now when this ball gets played to here, to the center midfielder, he's in a good spot. Play can move in and around him, and he's fine, and he can adjust from there. But more importantly, when this ball comes, if he's done the work earlier, he's now into this space when he starts running, instead of being out of the view here when we have a potential decision that can be made. Now, this works out all right for the referee. He gets fortunate here. But if this player brings the ball down to his chest and goes in, and this player obviously commits a foul of some kind, the referee's in a really compromised position for making a decision. As it is, goes clear out of bounds, we don't have any problems. But that's just a quick and easy view of the kind of movement we want to see, getting referees into that space more quickly and ahead of time. We'll watch another similar one.
Have the opportunity to clinch the number 6 seed. Jose Barrio with some fancy footwork to get out of trouble there. Sends it ahead for Alex Dixon. Tyler Miller off of his...
So obviously we have a potential problem here because of the counterattack opportunity that gets created. Now the referee's probably about 70 yards away from play. And so the instruction here is defending team white has the ball but is still under pressure. As soon as they're there and there's no more pressure, there's no more decision making, we want to see the referee turn and run pretty hard this direction to get out in front of this so that they're 15, 20, 25 yards out in front of this play, instead of what the referee does here, which is to let play go by them and then start to run. So if you refer back to the field diagram that we had before, we only want you letting play get in front of you if you're moving into the attacking thirds. This is coming out of the defending thirds. So ideally, we would have seen the referee in this space already when this ball gets played. And if that happens, as the through ball goes through, he's potentially here instead of probably back about another 25 yards or so. And again, gets fortunate. Nothing of consequence happens here. But ideally, in a situation like this, the referee is either in the frame of the camera or very, very close to it, so that if a decision is made, there's some credibility. In both of those clips that we've just seen, these are potential dog-so situations that we need to be very close to have any kind of credibility when making a decision. So again, we don't want to see you running away right now, because the defending team, the team with possession now, is still under pressure. They can still very easily turn it over. So we don't want to see you running at this point. We don't want to see you running now. But as soon as he's clear there, there's no more decisions to be made. We probably want to get going pretty quickly. And there could be an argument here as well that maybe the referee could be in this space here instead of all the way in, another 5 yards in the better direction while play is going on here. Notice you have an assistant referee who's got a good view of any potential fouls here, and so maybe the referee doesn't need to crowd over as much in this situation as they are right now, given the defending team has possession of the ball. Any questions on those couple of things before we see some positive demonstrations of what we're wanting to see?
Just a note, Matt, I think that perhaps in that situation, the AR had the sun in his eyes and communicated to the referee, so the referee needed to come closer because the AR was unsighted due to the sun in his eyes.
Very good point, Chris. Thanks for pointing that out. So moving ahead into some positive examples then of seeing referees move ahead. Now, again, the ball here is in the middle third of the field, and the referee is out ahead of it. Now, you'll see here the referee continues to be out ahead of it, but we're still in the middle third of play. And so the referee moves positively into that zone as the ball gets moved in. And now when the ball goes through, we've got a much more credible position for the referee than they did before. Here, instead of...
could you, sorry, Matt, could you turn down the volume of the video? It's we're trying to hear you over the volume of the video and the commentators.
Absolutely, I just did. I turned it down quite a bit. Thanks for letting me know. So again, I think in a lot of our training previous, right around in this moment, we probably would have instinctively drawn back into this space to let the player go here or get out in front of us. And the change in instruction that we need to be working on is having referees, again, in that middle area of the field, get out ahead of it. Because now what we've got is if the play continues in this direction wide, referee's in a good advanced position. If the player plays the ball out here to the left wing, again, good advanced position. But most importantly, and the thing that we're trying to cut down on as much as possible is now when this ball gets dumped over, the referee is a solid 15 to 20 yards more advanced towards the penalty area than they typically would have been otherwise. So if there's a decision, we're in a much more credible position. The professional game these days and the college game and even top-level youth games are getting faster and faster, and so we need to start adjusting our positioning accordingly to get farther up the field earlier so that these long ball through don't catch us really far out of position. So again, another good example here of the referee already being ahead of play, continuing to move ahead of play, and then continuing that run to be in a credible position just outside the penalty area when a decision point is potentially there. A lot of examples, the same referee, the same game, again, behind play as a result of a turnover, and then immediately runs forward into an advanced position to take up where she wants to be. So that is a perfect example of what we want to do. The ball gets turned over here. She's stuck in the middle of the field, waits for the player to make a decision on where to go. As soon as she does and the space becomes available, the referee moves quickly into it and now takes up this space. Most of the players in her view, the players who aren't in her view are in the view of the assistant referee, and now she can adjust accordingly. And again, if a ball gets dumped over the top, in a good advanced position to help make that decision. Same referee, same game. Ball's in the defensive third now. Moves quickly to get out ahead of it. Now this again is an area where it's going to be a change, particularly for instructors and assessors as you're watching referees. I think instinctively a lot of our referees would want in this moment to wait, pause here, let play get out in front of them, and then trail. And what we need to be trying to get them to do is get out in front of this. Now, this is where training and dynamic motion works out, because sometimes it doesn't work out the way that we want. Turnover, and the referee needs to get going to recover. But is able to get back there still. So again, anytime the ball's moving into that middle third of the field, we want to get referees out ahead of it, getting into more advanced positions whenever we can. Any questions on that, conceptually? Okay. The next clip is an example of where we need to be a little careful with this practice. Again, same referee, same game. Gets out ahead of play. The instruction to the referee here and the feedback was she needs to turn and jog looking over her left shoulder. because backpedaling through the center of the field can be a bit precarious at times. So they want to see her turning and running as she did most of the time, with her head over her shoulder, looking back to see where play goes.
Field best 11 selection along with Sam Mewis.
But now here's where we need to be careful. The ball gets turned over, and per the instructions that we're looking at now, we want the referee to get into this advanced position again. Because again, we don't want to see referees, for the most part, spending much time in the center of the field. Where we need to be careful is only when it's clear possession. And as you'll see here, this player doesn't have a lot of space. And this clip gets cut a little bit short. If it had played for a few more seconds longer, you'd see this defender now come into this space, and there's not a lot of space. She's under pressure. She ends up having to play out of it. There's a couple of swipes at her, and there's some decisions the referee has to make, but she's about 15 to 20 yards advanced up from it and not able to see it. So this idea of running through this zone works most of the time, but you need to be aware that it should only happen when clear possession exists and play is clearly moving up the field in that direction. There will be times when play is not clear as that, and you'll need to stick around in this space to make sure that there's a decision made and that you're in a credible position to do it. So again, if it played a little bit farther on, the person who cut the clip cut it a little bit short, but if it had continued, you'd see this player dribble the ball up with more pressure, this player closes down, this player moves in, and suddenly we've got a really, really tight space here, and the referee advances another 5 or so yards and is out of position for this. So make sure, as we're starting to train referees and referees yourselves as you're doing this, as you're moving forward, be thinking at all times, is there a decision I need to make imminently? And if there is, that changes your perspective on where you need to go. Any questions on that specifically?
Yeah, Matt. So, for example, let's say the play you're going up the field, okay, trying to get ahead of that play, and for some reason it doesn't develop, and because you're going full speed and you maybe happen to miss something behind you. Is it recommended at certain points to backpedal so you don't miss anything, or should you just wait till it's very clear and there's not going to be any challenges whatsoever?
Yeah, in this specific scenario, I would say I would rather the referee be right in this space, because now as play presses down into her a little bit, if you're here, you've got a clear view of everything, particularly her back's away from where the referee's wanting to go. She's obviously going to move this way a little bit. So the referee being in this space here maintains that credible position. And now, ideally, this player, even though she doesn't know she can, spins around and plays the ball out here. It gets played out here, and we're off and running. If the referee is in this space where the arrow is, as soon as that ball goes there, that's clear possession. Now you start to backpedal and move your way out of this. Or the player comes this way, this player comes down, and then the ball gets played back to here where there's no pressure. Then you can start to move out. But basically, anytime there's pressure anywhere, and there's a potential turnover, a potential opportunity for a foul, et cetera, we don't want to see you running away from that. You don't necessarily need to be running towards it either, but keep yourself in a position where you can credibly make those decisions. And then as soon as play or possession is clearly won and there's no pressure, then you can start to move out. The same goes, let me see if I can find that clip. The same thing applies here. You know, we wouldn't want the referee running away from this right now because possession isn't clear, right? And so wait until possession is clear, which is here. Now there's no more pressure, and then you get going. The same goes for this one. Play moves in towards her.
Zerboni for the Engines in the midfield, best 11 selection along with Sam Mewis.
Right here, it looks like it's clear. So the referee can start to move and does accordingly. But once you get to here and you realize it's not as clear as you think, and you can see there's no real place to go, that's where I think we want the referee to stay for, pause for a second or two, see which way this plays out. If she plays short there and gives a give and go into this space, then fine, you keep your run going. Maybe you move it a little bit farther this way so you're out of the way. If she spins out and plays here, fine, keep going. But in this scenario, here is where you need to be, because right now there's a potential decision to be made here. If she's holding her, if she pushes her down, you're looking through the back of it at this point instead of looking through it where you want. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does. Thank you.
Okay, perfect. Any other questions on this clip in particular? All right, then moving on. Another example.
But this Rochester club drilled into his player's mind have just been so organized defensively as Ombi.
So again, you'll see the referee hung out in the middle zone of that space, and suddenly we have a play here where there's not a lot of credibility if a decision has to be made. And so again, thinking about when can you get out ahead of it. The ball's stuck in the middle zone. Possession now pretty clearly won. There's nobody around that's going to pressure. There's no one around that's going to commit a tackle. It's at this moment that we want to see the referee run, particularly since there's a lot of people around, with a fair amount of pace to get out of this space and get out ahead of play. There's no imminent decision to be made. If the referee moves here as the pass back goes, you'll see now they'd be up here, which would free up if the ball wanted to come this way, which right now the referee's blocking the path of an outlet pass there. But also, when the ball goes through, the referee's going to be a lot farther advanced. So if the referee, instead of hanging around here, is now up here, we've gained 10 yards. And we're still in a credible position. Now what happens is exactly the thing we want to get away from, which is the referee can't run right now because he'll block the path of this pass. At this point, it's clear the player is going to put his head down and kick the ball. If the referee has kept running here, now they're in the way, they're going to get hit by the ball. So the referee has to hold up to let the play go forward, and now finds himself about 20 yards away from where he needs to be and suddenly about 30 or 40 yards from where he needs to be. So again, that's a situation where as soon as play is won here, boom, it's there, it's clear possession, sidestep and turn and run and get out of that space pretty quickly. You'll start to see as we look at these clips and the ones we look at for the rest of our session today that the idea of slowly jogging around in big smooth motions like we've done for years and years doesn't really work that well anymore, because here we need the referee to break and run pretty quickly out ahead of play at this moment in time so that they're, again, in this more advanced circle and continuing to move forward as this play develops. Ideally, the referee is here now instead of here. That way, if a player comes in and whacks an ankle, you've got a clear view of it looking there instead of looking through 3 or 4 players. And then if you keep moving, you're into this space now, and you don't get stuck pausing there and then having to get caught up when play's out. And again, this is another potential dog, so if that ball is just a little bit more accurate, you've got some ugly potential decisions here, and you don't want to put your assistant referee in the position of having to make that decision for you. Any questions on that?
Yeah, Matt, I have a quick question. Can we relate this to the Issei Bahamas video about the low pressure, medium pressure, and high pressure to fix our positioning?
Can you elaborate that on a little bit more?
Yeah, so from what I got at the video, I noticed that if it's low pressure, that means you could be farther away, and the medium pressure, you can increase the distance of play to the play, and then high pressure, we get real close.
Yeah, so I think in a lot of these videos, you'll see there are moments like right now, there's no pressure, right? So we don't need to be this close to play. Now, if there are 5 and 6 guys all scrambling for the ball and they're all going to kick each other, then yeah, we want the referee to have this kind of proximity to this play. But as this ball came in from the midfield there, from the touchline, the referee's in a good position here. But as soon as the ball pops back to here, we probably need the referee to backpedal a couple of times, create some space, and start to run, because there's not an imminent decision to be made here. And the same goes here. Getting out of the way of this, there's no imminent decision. This was what I would call probably medium pressure. There's people around, but there's no imminent tackle. There's no imminent pressure. So get out of this. Turn and run a little bit and get up the field, because there's no decision you need to make here. Same goes here. There's not a lot of pressure. The referee is in a fine distance to the play now. Ideally would have come up to here, been the same distance with just a different angle of view, and anticipating the next phase of play. And again, there's no imminent, nobody ever gets within a yard or two of touching this player. So there's no need to be this close at this moment in time to this decision, because there's nothing here to look at. So does that help answer your question a little bit?
Yes, it does. Thanks, Matt.
And I'll come back to this one again. This is a good example of this. This is play you probably want to stay close to. Medium pressure, there's not an imminent tackle, everything's fine. So this is a good distance to be here. As soon as play gets out of there, though, and the thing I would ask you as a referee is, do you need to be moving towards this right now? Because the referee is moving towards it. Do you need to be moving towards that, or is your angle of view and your distance adequate? Now, if a guy's running in here at high speed to make this challenge, then yeah, maybe you want to be closing that distance because it's going to be an ugly tackle. But here, everybody's calm, they're under control. The distance that he was, just this 2 or 3 yards here, would have been sufficient, and he wouldn't have been moving in this direction and then have to change pace and turn around and go the other direction. So thinking about where your next phase of play is and getting there is important. Nothing in here needed what I would say a high pressure proximity. It was all medium to low pressure. Does that help? Okay.
Yes, it does. Thanks, Matt.
Next one.
Matt.
Yes.
Matt, can I interrupt, please? So I tell me if I'm wrong. I'm seeing what you're describing as the positioning. So let me tell you, in my situations, my movement is dictated by like that next pass that I think is coming. I don't want to put myself in the way of a potential pass, which could then affect the next phase of play directly. Does that make sense? Am
Absolutely.
I wrong in saying that?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. So are you showing us two different things, how to move when the ball is turned over and where to go from there, like in that scramble, and then when you have space? Or, I mean, I feel like there's two different messages being sent. Am I the only one that feels like that?
Anybody else getting that same situation?
I see like the positioning, like I think there, but when I see it like there was recently a turnover or there was a transition in play, and he's looking to see where that pass is going, and that's going to dictate his movement. Am I wrong in that assessment?
Unfortunately, I think, yeah, and this is where we have to shift our thinking a little bit, in that we've gotten accustomed to sort of spending time in this area and then moving out of the way, basically. And now what they're saying is, as soon as possession has turned over and is clear, move up the field. Get out far in advance of it. Worry less about getting out of the way of the next immediate pass and worry more about getting into the next phase of play. It's a little bit more maybe proactive than reactive, if that makes sense. Whereas what you're describing is, what do I need to do to get out of the way of the next pass or out of the way of the next phase of play, versus intentionally moving yourself towards where more and more the game is trending to go, which is keep possession, lots of balls through. And so here, again, yeah, you want to be out of the way of the next pass. There's no doubt about that. But more often than not, if you turn and run this way, you're going to accomplish that goal. And you're going to be accomplishing the bigger picture goal, which is to get you closer to the next phase of play. I think the thing that they're trying to really address here is that a lot of players or a lot of referees have been trained to sort of live here. I can remember all the instruction I got, which was stay between the 18, the width of the 18, and move around and stay out of the passing lanes. Well, now they're telling you, get out ahead of it, because more and more play is direct in this country. And so, in Europe, they probably knock the ball out to here. They keep possession. Everybody moves up. They keep a nice shape. Here you get this. Plays right into pressure, again, right into pressure, and then we launch a ball through. That's how American soccer gets played more. And so I think they're trying to train referees how to get into this more advanced position instead of being in this position, where right now the referee is thinking, what do I need to do to get out of the way of this pass? And I think the thinking needs to be, how do I get into where the next phase of play is going to be? Does that help answer the question a little bit?
Yeah, it did, exactly. Thank you very much.
Perfect. Thanks, Danny. Any other questions? All right. Let me think. Did we get to this one? Yeah. So we've covered sort of the importance of getting out ahead of it. But most of the video work that we've been looking at is all geared towards moving through that space ahead of play. Now we're going to look at a few videos where play has gone now into the attacking third. We've moved our way up into that space, and now we need to figure out where we need to be. So the first video is, again, a counterattack. It's moving into the attacking third. Referee has done a good job of getting out ahead of it. Now, what do we do from here?
Threaten like they did in the first 10 minutes. It's Bjornathan coming inside. Now Barmby. He's going to try it from distance. It's wide.
Now, this probably seems relatively innocuous because nothing really happens, right? But what the coaching is on this is, as the referee runs here, now we have a decision to make, right? The player has put his head down. He's dribbling. He's obviously not going to put a cross in, right? So we don't need to worry about getting up farther this way because he's obviously going to take this player on now. So now we have to figure out where do we want to go on the field to put ourselves in the best possible position for what's going to come next. And from my read on this, one of two things can happen. The player's either going to dribble into this space, or he's going to dribble into this space, or he's going to play the ball down the line for this player to run into. So the thing we need to be thinking about is how do we clear up this space, and how do we still put ourselves in a position to be able to close down here or get into the penalty area. This is right around where that line is that we want to start letting play get out ahead of us. What the referee does here is goes out and gets in front of it. So now, because the player has come towards the inside, the referee is now in the way of play. Now, he gets fortunate here. The next video, the referee gets less fortunate. But here he's fortunate in that play goes in behind him, and he's able to duck in. Player has to get out of his way. He has to get out of that way. He's distracted for a second, but nothing really bad happens. I think ideally what we would want to see referees do is as they run into this space, as play goes here, instead of getting out ahead of it now, this is getting into that zone where you're going to want to start to shift maybe this way a little bit and let play come in front of you so that you're keeping your face square to the goal area. You're keeping as much of the important players in front of you, and you're not potentially getting yourself in the way. So as play comes this way, I think ideally right here, we have the referee where the arrow is now. Still close to play, still viable to get here, still viable. If that player puts his head down to cross, you can sprint as soon as he puts his head down and be into this space as the ball goes. But here, you're now making sure that you're not in the way of play. And as play goes ahead of you, you're into this space now, gets played across, and as it goes, you're now in a good position to see if this is a give and go, does this defender trip this guy so he negates the give and go, which we see all the time, right? If the defender knows he's going to not be able to defend a give and go, he'll just grab the player and trip him and pull him down. If you're here and this happens, you have no idea. So if this defender here trips this guy to keep the give and go from happening, you have no clue. Whereas if you're here, you can see it if it happens because there's nothing you need to be looking at here. And as play develops, you're keeping play in front of you. Now, if right here there happens to be a handling decision, you're not having to worry about potentially looking through people. You're right here. You've got a good clear view of it, and you're still keeping everything in front of you. Does that make sense for everybody? So again, once the play is into the attacking third, how can you get in behind it instead of being out in front of it so that you're not in the way of play? Because the thing we want to avoid is this.
Zelbo ran right into Guido Gonzalez. Beg your pardon, it's Peloto.
So the referee is less fortunate here. And again, it's because he's gotten himself ahead of play, which is fine. But now as play gets into the attacking third, we want to let it develop in front of us now, right? And so ideally now, at this point, the referee isn't underneath play. The referee is back here. So once number 23 makes a decision on where he's going to go. Now, if he puts his head down and he's going to knock in a cross, referee's in a good spot. He starts to run. He's in a good position. Once 23 goes negative here, we want to see the referee back out of this space and be here. Because now, once this player gets the ball, you see the problem? The referee is right next to where the obvious next pass is. And so as soon as this ball gets played negative, instead of staying in advance of play, starting to come back, it's clear it's an easy possession. There's no pressure. There's obviously going to be a defensive setup and an attacking setup here. step back into this space here and let play start to develop in front of you. So that when it gets played here, now you're out into this space. You backpedal a couple of times, you're into this space, and now if play goes out wide, you're here, you recover. If play goes in, you go in with it. If it comes back across, you're good where you are. Instead, there's not a lot of space here. So in this attacking third, we don't want you trying to figure out how to find space in here. Because now, if this player plays in here, and everybody closes in, you're in the way. And as you see here, there's a great give and go opportunity. He's going to drop it off here, and the referee becomes the 12th man on the field for the defensive team. Does that make sense? Any questions for anybody on this? Is this making sense? Okay. Last couple things
sense.
on how to get ahead. And this is just small stuff now. We're into the attacking third. Referee has taken up a position that is fine. One of the instructional pieces that's going out to referees now is to turn your body when you're in the attacking third and face the goal area at all time. We'll see another example of that here in a second where it's done really well. But right now, with the referee pointing his face towards the AR, a lot of important play in this area is not in his line of sight. And so by turning, you're looking at all of this, and you've set up your body now where if the ball gets played in, you're already facing the direction you need to go. So there doesn't need to be a change in direction. So this is a referee that does what we talked about a little while ago, which is sort of slowly jogs all around the field and doesn't really have a lot of quick changes in direction. And as you'll see, play goes there, jogs slowly towards it, player puts his head down, he's still facing that direction. So now it's pretty clear the ball is going to get crossed. Watch how long it takes the referee to start moving in the other direction. Now we got a problem. Because now the referee is not anywhere near play and is looking through 3 or 4 players. If this player puts his hand up as he did and knocks the ball down, is the referee in a credible position to see it? We have no idea. So here, the adjustment we need to make, as soon as this ball gets played out there's no pressure. 30 is going to drop off. This player is going to drop over here. This is where we want to see the referee start to sidestep in this direction because there's no imminent decision to be made. Now, if the player comes out this direction, the player can then run here, or the referee can then run into this space, and we're fine. If the player comes back this way, the referee can backpedal, and we're fine. But at this point, we don't want to see the referee moving any farther this direction. And we want to see the referee turned and pointed towards the goal mouth so that he can see everything that's going on in this space. And then definitely, as soon as that player puts his head down, we need to see a quick spurt of motion towards towards the penalty area, because clearly that's where the ball is going to go. Instead of the slow change, see what's going to happen, and we never saw the referee really accelerate. We still don't know if he's going to. So those quick motions, the quick sprints, need to happen in times of transition like this. And always be thinking about what that next phase of play is. And this gets back to the last question we had a minute ago about high pressure versus medium pressure versus low pressure. I'm going to restart this clip, see where the referee is right now. Now, already you've got a player here putting some pressure here, but it's probably pretty safe. So this actually isn't terrible, probably because the play has come from here, so it's okay. There's a lot of space. But as you'll see, Rio Grande stays up high and keeps pressuring and keeps pressuring. And they keep playing negative. And they keep pressing. We need to see the referee in this space here. So as soon as it becomes clear that the attacking team in this situation is going to press high, close down that space. Get into this space here so that if there's a turnover, you're not in a compromised position. And when the goalkeeper does this, now you're in a position to start moving up the field and still be in a decent place to see that decision. So getting back to the high pressure, medium pressure, low pressure, this started out as low pressure, but it became medium pressure. And we want to see the referee in this space here, particularly right now. This isn't very clear possession. Particularly now, it's again, same thing. A lot of mistakes can happen, and there's nobody here for them to go an outlet pass to. So it's obviously going to go negative. So the referee needs to get into that space and not be quite as trusting. Other thing to note here, it's 3 minutes into the game, which means you don't know yet how well these guys are playing. if you've never seen these teams before, you don't know how much you can trust their backs to actually keep possession of the ball. And so this referee, I think, in this situation is being a little more trusting than he ought to. And you know what? 90% of the time at the professional level, it's going to be fine. But what we need to prepare ourselves for is the 10% of the time that it's not. Any questions on that subject area? Those are the videos I wanted to go through to talk about moving through zones. Do we have any questions on that concept, moving through the zone to get out ahead of play?
I have a quick question, Matt, about the second video. So I remember it was the one that he was kind of pressing in, the referee was pressing into the corner. And there was that note that he should have a few seconds started breaking on the, running to catch up with the counterattack, right? So as far as I get, the lesson learned from this is not to press in so deep when your AR is there to help you. But what I saw kind of on that turnover is there was that few extra seconds the referee took. And I'm trying to think, like in the same situation, so what would probably be going through my mind is he might play it through towards the center on the ground, and it might be in a passing lane, and that's why he might have hesitated. Like it's probably like another 2-3 seconds after this.
So right here.
Yeah, right there. So the fear is if you start sprinting now, I don't know if it's coming straight through that center in like a ground pass, right? So the fear is, oh, if I move now, I'm going to be in the passing lane. It's kind of like you're already, like dead in the water.
Absolutely. So I think there's 2 parts to that. One is, probably doesn't need to be pinched quite as far as he is right now to the touchline. But the second thing is, as soon as he's here, we want to see you turn and go. And turning and going doesn't mean running right here in your diagonal to block off that space. Turning and running can mean coming this way and leaving that avenue still open for the ball to go. So turning and running can be here so that you give them that space.
Okay, cool.
But it's, as you see, if you turn and look, there's nobody here to give the ball to. And so that's where, always being aware of what's around you. As the ball goes into this corner and comes out,
Have the opportunity to clinch the number 6 seed.
Having a quick glance here to know what's going on back here will let you know that there's probably not going to be a pass coming directly at you, and you can just start to run, right? Because look, there's literally nobody. So it's a good chance that outlet pass isn't going to happen that way. Make sense?
Yep, sounds good.
Okay. Any other questions on this concept of moving through zones, getting out of the center of the field, and getting out ahead of play? So the big takeaway, and assessors and instructors who are listening in on this, as you're coaching referees, the big takeaway is in the middle zone of the field, run through it to get to the edge there and let play happen behind you or ahead of you. As soon as play gets into the attacking third, we want to let play move past us and start to watch it in front of us so we can keep eyes on the penalty area and keep ourselves in a good position, always facing the penalty area. Those are the biggest takeaways. It's going to be uncomfortable for a little while. You're probably going to get in the way for a little while when you're trying, but that's the biggest takeaway is move ahead, move out, move early, move quickly, and get to the next phase of play before you slow down. Next thing I want to talk about is how to move in and around the penalty area. And again, I'm going to pull up this field diagram. Specifically, what we're going to be looking at right now is moving in and around this area, because this is an area we see a lot of referees don't go very much in the attacking third, and we need to start seeing referees spending more time in this area. So assessors and instructors in particular, be paying attention to this as you're working with referees. We're going to see a lot of clips as to why, but we want to see referees spending more time in this area of the field, and we'll go through some clips as to why. Whoops, I did not get in the wrong, pardon me. So this is a good example.
Isolated with Bjornathan. Rankin cuts it back. Shankum swung and missed. Might end up with Mathers in the end. It does, and he puts it wide.
Now, a lot of assessors and instructors are probably looking at that and saying, we have a couple of problems here because, the referee's back to the assistant referee, et cetera, et cetera. This is not a position until very recently that we would be comfortable having a referee in. And the more we've developed the game, the more we look at it, this is actually the ideal position for the referee. And so I'll walk through why. In this scenario right here, you've got a potential penalty kick decision that you need to make. Now, years ago, we'd have the referee in his diagonal. He'd be over here somewhere, except more advanced, probably a solid 30 to 40 yards away from play and looking through some people to try to make a penalty kick decision. And then are we comfortable with the assistant referee? We're not 100% sure. So in this scenario, we need the referee to actually be where he is to have a credible decision-making process here. If we move this play out a little bit and it starts out here and the attacker is moving his way in, we actually want the referee taking up a position right here, even with this penalty area boundary. Because as the play moves in, if there's a penalty kick, no penalty kick decision right on this line, the referee needs to be right on the line as well to be able to tell. Maybe a step inside, maybe not, but definitely on that line so that if there's a decision to be made here, they can make it. And then as play advances, once it gets whipped across, the referee then actually finds himself with a perfect angle of view to make any decisions that need to be made here. Now, regardless of how this ball gets sent across, if it gets put across on the ground, if it gets put across in the air, if there's 5 players in this area, or if there's 1 player in this area, the referee has a perfect angle of view in here for most fouls that are going to happen. So the common fouls that we have here are a defender's going to head the ball, an attacking player comes in and runs into the back of them and pushes them down. The referee's looking right between that to be able to see it. Or the attacking player is in behind the defender, defender's going to grab the player and pull him down or trip him. Again, referee's in the perfect angle of view to be able to see those fouls. So this is exactly where we want the referee to be anytime the ball is in this general area. And then as soon as it gets out of it, the referee has to then move. You see it moving with a fair amount of pace to get there and make a decision here. So the referee needs to be able to move pretty quickly and pretty elegantly around this area, the top of the penalty area, to be able to put himself into a couple decision-making positions in just a couple of seconds. And as you see there's a deflection. Referee has a corner kick view of it. So again, looking at it from this view, referee moves with a lot of pace to get into that decision-making right there. So if there's a trip, referee is in a good, credible position to be able to call a penalty kick. And again, if play started out here, we want the referee to be right here. And then moving in as play goes across.
Just make sure that the play is going wide, but from here, the defenders do enough.
And again, good, credible position to be in. If play had gone out wide, he keeps on moving around. Another example. Play starts out wider this time.
It's very easy to look at the goal scorers when we're talking about man of the match.
Referee is taking up a perfect position here. There's no chance that this guy comes in to run close to this line, so the referee can stay a little bit towards the inside. Assistant referee is an easy foul decision-making right here, so the referee doesn't need to pinch over here. Now, if this player had beat him down the line, down the in line, and was running in, then what we'd want to see is the referee move into this space here to, again, take up this line. But now, because of the position he's taken, he has a credible position to be able to say, that's not a penalty kick. One more time.
So it's very easy to look at the goal scorers when we're talking about man of the match.
That's the decision right there he needs to make. And he's in a perfect position to be able to do so, which is why we want referees spending more time in this zone. Now, again, if that ball gets whipped in over the top, looking through it, still in a credible position to make decisions. Any questions on that? All right, now let's see a few ways that it can turn out to not go well.
I've been watching this game for, 34 minutes.
Now we see why we want referees here. So the referee is walking at this point after the free kick. As soon as it goes there, the referee needs to be running with pace. And ideally, running this direction. To get the angle of view, they need to make a credible decision. Because as it is, the referee never actually runs, just walks into the penalty area. The proximity, it's not good enough there. When this ball goes out of play here, ideally the referee is inside the penalty area in this space here. Same thing here. You've got a player going right at that line. Referee hasn't made it wide here. So if you alter this just a little bit and he comes down this direction and there's a foul here, nobody's in a credible position to be able to decide if that's inside or outside the penalty area. So ideally, when this ball got sent wide here, the referee is moving with pace to get into this space here.
Himself is Jones.
So that when we have these decisions right here, the referee is over here in this space, not in the center of the field, but here. And moving around, because as this guy goes down this direction, we want to see the referee continuing into the penalty area and being right here. This right now would be an ideal position for the referee because he's going to have a good line of view to see this, and anything that makes its way into the penalty area, the referee, by being right where the clicker is right now, would be in the ideal position to be able to see what he needs to see. Ideally, referee is right here looking into this. Any questions on that? Okay.
At 2 games, I mean, that's very unfortunate. Here's Mewis. Good patience. Now serving from the right, it's Moros heading away next to Daly. Here's Becky. We've seen this a lot tonight. Dash camped out at the Kansas City end. They've absorbed the pressure. Benbanot breaks so far for Kansas City, and Morrow steps inside well again. Now it's Daly for the dash. Claire Faulkner. For Prince, away from Miramontes.
So again, the first part of the referee's movement is good. Plays out wide. It doesn't look like the player is going to take her on and go down into the penalty area, so the referee doesn't need to move over there. He can sort of hedge and be closer to a potential cross because it doesn't look like a cross is going to happen. As soon as the player goes there, we need to make sure that if she's going to take a player on, we can move, which the referee is in a good position to do. Prepared for the cross. You'll see that his feet are never planted. He's always moving. This is all very, very good movement. Now is where we have a problem because the referee does not move with very much pace to get across the field, and this is obviously a scenario where the player is going to take him on. So if you're 1v1 and you've got potential decisions to make in this part of the field, we need you to be over in this space. This would be an ideal position, so the referee should have kept coming and getting over here. Now the referee is standing here ideally. Ball goes in, they can sprint in there, and they have a good angle of view. Doesn't, we're still here. And again, we're going to end up down in that area of the field. This is where we want the referee to be right in here. Because right now, if there's a decision to make here for a penalty kick, the referee is way out here outside of the line of outside of the camera, too far away, no angle of view. She's looking, or referee's looking right through her body. Can't tell. Assistant referee is going to have to make a decision here. Versus if the referee had taken up this space, as this develops, they're moving in. They were able to come out to this space here. Referee should ideally be right in here when this tackle happens. This would be an ideal place for the referee to be. And then if the cross is successful, they have the line of sight. If it's not, they can make the decision. Make sense? This is a good example. I want you to watch the referee. When I mentioned earlier that you should always be facing the goal line, the referee never stops facing the goal line and keeps constantly moving in and out, anticipating the next phase of play. Play comes out, moving away, turns over, immediately faces the field or faces the goal area. So you can see now she immediately turned and faced this area. Moves in, anticipating a cross because there's no imminent decision. Backpedals out. Always taking up a position where she can be in the camera angle or camera view when there's something to happen there. So at all times, this referee has put themselves in a position where if the ball gets dumped into the corner, she can run into here. Once it gets crossed, she's in a credible position to start moving in. Some issues with passing lanes when you're moving into space around the penalty area. Pro doesn't want you in the way there. So as you move your way across, you definitely need to be here. I would rather see the referee move with a little bit more pace here across the field instead of jogging. More pace because this player potentially will take this player on, and you need to be down in this space. Instead of being here, where now you're in a potential passing lane, as you'll see here in a second, right now you're in a passing lane. The one guy that wants to get this ball right now, you're in his way. So if you've moved harder and faster to come this direction, now you're here. This is an ideal place to be to view this play. So that if the player takes him on, you're in the spot where you can see down the penalty area line, and as soon as it's out of it, you'd be here, not there. That's a level of proximity to play that pro doesn't want in this situation, and then you can be moving up the field and getting out of the way here. Same concept here.
Drops it off for Becker, leaves it one more time for Gibson. That shot was blocked on its.
So instead of taking the inside position here, we've got a potential 1v1. We definitely need to have a view of this line. If the referee steps out here to the right of number 10, now they freed up all this space. So if this player plays a short ball here, you're out of the way of it, plays in front of you. And you still have the line of sight that you need down this down the side of the penalty area. So taking up a spot up here puts the referee in a little bit better position to be able to see this line and not be in the way, because this right here is prime real estate for the ball to go either there or to here. Once here, ideally the referee backpedals quickly to this space. Again, let play be in front of you. Remember we talked about letting play be in front of you in the attacking third. Right now play is not in front of the referee. Play is to the side of the referee. And now we got a problem. If the referee had taken up a position here or here farther back, a few steps to backpedal, they're in this view to see a potential. It doesn't happen here, but you have a potential handling decision here. If the player doesn't jump, you could have a handling decision. Referee's back is to it, has no idea where the ball is right now. So if this player doesn't jump and turn his back, but instead turns his side and sticks his arm out, you've got a potential handling decision here that you have to make, and you can't see it. And then the referee gets hit with the ball, and now the referee is potentially going to get hit with the clearance. So by staying up here a little farther out of the way, but still in the line of sight, you're a little bit safer there. This is another example of where the referee's in a good, credible position here. If play comes into the penalty area, now we have a problem because play's coming back into attacking zone and the referee's finding himself in the same place the last referee did. This is where backpedaling out of the way more quickly can help you and get you into a more credible position for the next cross. So you're here, everything's fine, while play is here. As soon as you're out of this, now possession is clearly won by the blue team, backpedal out of here. Backpedal into where the mouse is now so that you get back into that normal position. Get out of that space right now. You should be moving this direction because the cross is about to happen. So move out of that space. Be down here already to be looking through when you need to.
King on the header, back post,
and then lastly,
you can actually have a continuous play and continuous effort without having to actually make any tactical changes. Just put someone else in.
That's two on the move again.
Referee gets fortunate here. Does some good work initially. So the ball gets sent in long. Watch at this moment. The referee runs at pace to close down this distance to put himself in a credible position for these decisions here. A little bit harder would have been nice. Ideally, the referee's in this space here when this comes down. But as soon as you've gone out of that scenario, now you're not worried about this line anymore. You need to try to get this way now. Because again, the only reason we want you this far over is to look at this penalty area line. Once you're out of that scenario, be working your way back this direction. So as soon as it was clear that the referee wasn't going to have a penalty area line decision to make here, we want the referee coming back this direction now. Because now what ends up happening is to avoid getting in the way of play, he takes up a position out here. And 9 times out of 10, what's going to happen here is this player is going to dump across into the penalty area, and now the referee's 40 yards out of position. Whereas if they'd have taken up a position here as soon as it came inward more, they can backpedal out, and now they're in this space if the ball comes across, instead of being stuck on the right side of play looking at a whole lot of information that they have to take in. Does that make sense? Any questions on that subject? I'm going to check in and see if there were any questions written along the way here. Great, I will answer some of these later on. Anybody want to chime in at this point? Okay, now we've hit 8 o'clock. I'm going to continue to go. Anybody who's welcome to or wants to step off can step off. That's not a problem. I'm going to get into a couple of more areas for penalty kick decisions. We'll skip penalty area trouble for right now. Actually, now we'll just do a couple of quick ones. You're welcome to hop off now if you'd like. I'll continue with some of these videos. This is more just being aware of what's going on in the penalty area. This is potential danger. And we didn't see the referee early in the game. No problem with being tired. We don't want to see you standing outside the penalty area when there's a decision to be made inside of it. So the feedback on this one is taking of a corner kick, we're too flat-footed here. And we're too far away. That goes. Still too flat-footed. The ball's in. You see here at this moment that you've got a potential decision to make. You need to be running with pace into this area, particularly once you realize you got this scenario. You should be running with a fair amount of pace to get through here, because if that attacker clatters the goalkeeper, you're going to have a mass confrontation on your hands, and you want to be there before it gets going. Same thing with this one. Whoops. Referee takes up a good position. Here, everything's good. Exactly what we want. As soon as this happens, you need to be moving in there. Referee's moving out.
Coming out, hesitating. He is down, and the whistle.
So ideally, when that ball goes in, you're moving in towards it, and you're close to the goalkeeper when they catch the ball. Because it looks like the goalkeeper is going to catch it here with no problem. But regardless, move in. Get close, because when this happens, you can't be that far away. An ideal word, you're standing right here where the D hits the penalty area line, and you're calling that foul, and when both these people open their eyes, you're standing over the top of them. So sensing those problems and moving towards it in the penalty area has to happen. The ball's in the penalty area, you should never be this far outside of the penalty area. Same here. First of all, where's our drop zone and where's the referee? This is not taking up a position that's going to help you to be close to things if they happen.
Whipped into the near post off the head of Bjornathan to a dangerous spot, though.
Referee never makes a move to get into the penalty area here. So as soon as this ball pops up in the air, that's potential danger. As we heard Serafini say the other day, anytime the ball's in the air, there's potential danger. Goalkeeper can come, attackers can come. Referee's got to be running with pace to get into the penalty area here. They got fortunate that the goalkeeper didn't come all the way, but if he had, there could have been something messy there, and the referee would have been a long way away from it.
Looks wide. Finds Raul Gonzalez.
Same thing here. Referee's too far away from this. Needs to be a lot farther in. And then here, referee needs to be in this space right now. So this starts with the ball coming in. Referee's clear the guy's going to send a cross. No reason to be flat-footed here. You should already be moving in because it's pretty clear what's going to happen here. There's really no other option. So referee ideally would already be here. Good credible position right here. And then once the ball's up in the air, you're sprinting in and you're inside the penalty area already when this happens. Any questions on that? Okay. Then I think for now we're going to stop. I have a whole bunch of other stuff for penalty kick decisions that we can go over at a future date. As you can see, we've got a lot of other subject areas here that we'll start to work towards. The next webinar will be in 2 weeks from now. Y'all are welcome to unmute yourself and ask any questions you may have. But next week we will talk about player management and 100% misconduct or foul recognition. I'm not 100% sure yet But we'll figure out what we're going to do, and next week talk about what to do once you get yourself into a credible position. Any questions from anybody at this point? All right, then without any further questions, we can go ahead and call it a night. Thank you, everybody. Appreciate you joining. You're welcome to email me or call me if you have any questions. Assessors, instructors, any other referees who ended up on here, you're welcome to give me a call if you would like. I'll go through and read questions now that were sent during the time, and we'll answer them. Okay? Thanks, everybody.
Thank you, Matt.
Later.
Good night, guys.
Hey, thank you, Matt.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Matt.